Welcome to the Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. The show will have a talk about a Linux project, such as a distribution, desktop environment, or an application. We also chat about the news or any variety of topics from the community. Anything that is Linux, tech, and open source related is on the table for discussion. I'm Nate, the Linux, fitness, and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with the OpenSUSE project. And with me today, I got a fantastic panel of people. I've got Ben Dale of Low Tech Linux fame, Jinda, and he just squeaked through the door, Mike Chilson. How is everybody?
Excellent.
Be sure
Having
to do
a killer weekend.
A killer weekend. I hope the police don't find out, because I would hate for them to haul you away. So be sure to do the straw poll if you have not done so. We've got a fantastic straw poll about what kind of hardware you're running. So I have that here, right there. And on the docket for today, we've got a news flight night. We're going to talk about that straw poll, and then do some housekeeping, and then probably get out of here. So, but first, what have we been doing in Linux and tech? Jinda, before you kicked off, you started talking about you've got a there's a graphical way of doing Quickemu. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I got a new toy to play with, so I had to have Windows.
Where did you get this toy? I guess that's, and if you have any links to share.
Oh, sorry. No, the guy at work had a 3D scanner and he hated it, didn't want it, and he gave it to me for $75. That's it.
Oh, that's...
Yeah, I mean, it's a $300 unit. They're, I knew it wasn't going to be very good, and it's not, but I wanted to play with it, so I needed Windows to play with it because naturally it doesn't work on anything. And the thing's kind of a pile of junk because I couldn't get it to work. And one of the reasons why is because it wasn't updated the firmware. The firmware didn't match what I downloaded. And somebody that was on the internet was smart enough to go, don't listen to anybody else, download the application for your phone. Even though your phone's not powerful enough to do it, it will update the firmware in it, then you can use it on the software. So it's like, oh God. So you have to jump through hoops naturally to get anything to work today. So in my process of getting it to work, I go, how the heck am I going to get Windows 10 in my computer without having a billion headaches? So I decided to try that what's it, EMU, I think it is?
Quickemu, yeah.
Quickemu, yeah. And they have Quick GUI, which is a graphic user interface for it.
Now, where did you get that?
I put it on, it's in GitHub. It's right in, I'll put in a link in. Okay. And you guys can get it. It's made by, I'm pretty sure it's probably made by the same guy. I think that was WinPress, wasn't it? Martin WinPress? Yeah. It's a quick GUI, and you can just scroll through what you want and download the operating system and click it, and it'll install it for you. And you can instantly reboot and run it. It works flawlessly. I had no issues whatsoever. I strongly recommend it, except for Windows 11 doesn't work.
Well, what can you do?
Well, yeah, I went online. I was trying to figure out why it didn't work, and I couldn't figure out why. And it seems like there's some issue. Well, Windows 10 worked fine.
All right, so I've run Quickemu on the just the in the terminal to get it going. So interesting. Okay, so I see the. All right, Quick GUI. Interesting.
Yeah, it works surprisingly well.
They have an app image. There is an app image for it?
Yeah, there is.
All right. Sweet. I will have to check that out. So I already have it on, I can't remember how I even installed it, the Quickemu. I remember it being a bit of a pain that took us, or maybe it wasn't. I can't remember.
I know it's available. It's available on Tumbleweed through OPI.
That must have been how I did it then. OPI.
That's how I did. That's how I did it.
It's Quick GUI on there though. No package for that. I'm curious now. Yeah, somebody's project. Yeah. Oh, it's still being updated too. So cool. And do you have good luck with Quickemu?
I had no issues with it whatsoever, except for the fact that one, there's things I don't know how to do,
Right.
which we already knew. But I did have a problem with Windows 11, which I could not get to work. I was thinking the error was an error that I didn't understand what was going on. And I tried hitting escape and doing all these things to get it installed. I couldn't. And I finally went online and there's like, no, it doesn't seem to work. Something's wrong. And that's the only real issue I had with it. Other than that, it was clearly flawless. Like little things like I wasn't sure how to SSH into it and little things like that I didn't know how to do. But that's not the program's fault. That's me.
I got you.
Yeah, I mean, I only know so much and I'm trying to learn, and this is the best way to do it, right?
Yeah. And so I guess I'm interested all right, so have you successfully ran the application though to use your 3D scanner at this point?
Oh yeah, I ran it.
Okay.
I ran it. I scanned my head.
Yeah.
It was the closest thing near me at the time, it kind of works. It's clunky, it's difficult to use. It only scans certain size objects. It has a lot of temperamental issues. It's fun, for a little while. To me, it's mostly novelty at best. I don't think the technology is there yet, because it looks to me that like this is a Creality one, like the low end Creality ones. And it looks to me like if you want the higher end one, it's just 3 of these stuck together. You know what I'm saying? What I'm getting at, meaning the technology.
I'm picking up what you're laying down.
There's not really much here. Trust me, it's fun to play with. It's really neat. Sure, I can probably do something with it if I want to, but I was more interested in just playing with it for a little while to see it. My buddy's the guy at work said he wanted $75 for a unit. He never took the plastic off the damn thing. He used it twice. You know what I mean? It's good quality, physically good quality, but the software is iffy at best.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any real open source software for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think that's
available
yet. Yeah, I don't think that's something that's around yet. Once I think it goes open source, it'd probably be a lot better.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you think the quality of the scan was?
It depends how big of an object you have.
Okay.
If you have a small object, a -4. If you have like my fat head, probably about an 8.
Oh.
It was really good.
Yeah.
I was very impressed. But like I was picking like little things off my desk, and you know what I mean? Like you need something like 2 inches by 2 inches. You know what I mean? If you get anything like a Hot Wheels car, because you can see I got a bunch of those, just using that for an example, it ain't gonna do it. But it had problems with color. Let me put it this way: it's temperamental at best.
I got you.
I mean, I think that once the quality gets a little better, okay, and the cost goes down, and if this thing was actually really $75, I would say go around and buy one. It's the coolest thing in the world. But for the 300, I think about $250, $300 they go for, I think that's just no. It's just they're not there yet.
I actually did a lot of research on this technology at one point because I was interested in it. But one of my hobbies is digital astronomy.
Mhm.
And one thing we do is we do a process called stacking. And I'm really surprised this hasn't, and that's probably what they're doing with the 3 scanners at one time, is basically you take 40 images and then the software takes the best of all of those individual pieces of it, of the same image, and comes up with an image that is far superior than any individual.
Right.
I'm assuming that's what the 3 scanners are doing. They're doing 3 samples and then trying to combine them. But I'm surprised that, the open source software that's out there for this stuff, it just doesn't do any of that stuff. It's just,
Right. Yeah, it does have a laser in it. It has on the back, it says what laser class it is. So it's doing something with a laser. It looks like it's doing something with heat too, because it has the temperature on the screen.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how it works. I didn't look into the tech on it. I was more interested in just playing with it for some reason. And then I had more fun trying to get Windows 10 to work.
It's like the term of shaving the yak. This is years ago. This is probably like 20 years ago or so when I first heard this idea. But like in order to shave the yak, shaving the yak is like you have a bunch of tasks that are supportive to do the actual task you want to do. So, for instance, if I'm going to run Ethernet cable, I have to make sure I have my tools to terminate the ends. I got to make sure I have ends to to do the termination. Whatever.
Right.
And then so all these different little steps just to do the task of whatever. So it's called shaving the yak because you got to I don't know. I don't remember why it's called that, but that's what it's called. Anyway, so it's just funny, like your shaving the yak experience was all these steps you had to do to get the scanner to work, but you actually had more fun with the other steps, and maybe was more beneficial. Like the long term was more beneficial than the other. But yeah, very interesting. I'm interested in the Quickemu for Windows because right now I'm using I find, which surprises me, I'm having a better experience with VirtualBox in a Windows desktop as far as like performance is concerned than I have been with KVM, QEMU, whatever, or Virt Manager, as far as like frame rate, and also like I can automatically resize it. It resizes automatically, and it's like hit and miss on KVM. And I've installed all the little bits and pieces to make that work, and it's just still kind of hit and miss. So I'd be interested in trying this out to see if there's any other benefits with this as far as like performance and whatnot. Because I've used Quickemu for a Hackintosh running Mac OS on my framework, and it kind of hurts me a little bit to see the Mac logo on the computer. I don't know, like if I full screen it, it just kind of hurts just a little bit. I don't know why, but I got that dialed into. So if I need to do something that's Mac related, I've got that ability. So that's why I have it. But a GUI sounds like a great time, just because sometimes sometimes there are just challenges with doing the in the terminal because you don't.
Yeah.
Like to get the syntax wrong, and maybe I like playing in the terminal as much as anybody, but sometimes you just like the graphic interface, just pointing and clicking to get what you want for something more complex is just easier or more convenient. Although I will say, when you do have like a script dialed in, it's kind of exciting as well. So I don't know. It'd be nice if the graphic interfaces would tell you what the terminal command was too. I know like Kdenlive will do that. If you like, it'll actually tell you the FFmpeg commands, whatever. It'll give you the whole output, the string, so you could actually replicate it later for other things. So there's that. So Zoe Ronan says, Nate the hacker. Well, I'd probably be the worst hacker in the world. Like, So, oh yeah, Scrub Ghost says, I love the new terminals, complete forever. Yeah, if anyone use the fish terminal, use fish in the terminal instead of bash.
Yes.
Here's what
I've been using fish for years.
Yeah, me too. It makes the terminal a lot more fun. So if I know that's like a zipper command that I've run, let's just as an example, like sudo zipper, and I can just start hitting up arrow, and it'll go through my history of all the different zipper commands I've used in the past,
right?
Or whatever. It's been like I have like
Well,
a system CTL that
for me, it's the color that helps more.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I don't know why, but having everything a different color, and you can change the colors if there's one you don't like. But yeah, to me, doing that, that really helps me a lot to know what's going on with the screen. I can look at it much quicker. Dyslexic guy doesn't have to read anything. Oh, that's blue. I know what that is. Okay, good.
Right. Yeah, and then there's I think I don't quite have some things kind of dialed in as far as like how I use it necessarily. But anyway, yeah, it's good times.
Yeah, because I set up a Zamba server today for fun because I was sitting there going, yeah, doesn't Windows use Zamba? So I just did a Zamba server for fun, and then I go, well, I'll try to do it in Windows 10 to see if I can get it to work, and I never got that far yet. Because once again, I'm having more fun playing with something else other than the 3D scanner.
Yeah, maybe that's what's when computers are fun. That's really the best, I think.
Yeah, well, I think this making this little graphic user interface to me made this a lot more accessible because I was trying to type the commands in, and Windows 11 didn't work, and I thought I did something wrong. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm trying to figure out what the error is. You know what I mean? And I can't because I'm confused because I could see it come up real flash and then disappear. I'm going, what the heck's going on? So then I typed the command in and I got it to stay. And then I found the error. And then I go, okay, now I got it to stay up there for a little while. I could find the error and then try to figure out what's going on. And a bunch of other people said, no, it's not. Something's wrong with Windows 11. It's not working. But once I tried Windows 10, it was lit. It took me 5 minutes. And then I went to Chris Titus Tech and downloaded his script to make Windows 10 not a pile of junk.
Did it work?
Yes, it usually does. He does a pretty good job. If you're into it, I can put that in the chat.
Yeah, be good.
So good. Now I got to the root of my issue.
Was it
what-
me?
Yeah,
yeah.
good one.
Jinda,
Yes.
so you already had an installation of Windows. What did you
No.
do to make it?
I didn't have an installation of Windows. All I did was run that quick GUI and the quick was an EMU. I installed those two packages, and then once you install those two packages, you can just click I want Windows 10 and it runs. Basically, it downloads it, installs it for you, makes a virtual box, basically like virtual for you.
Oh, because I wasn't
Well,
understanding it when I went to the site myself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I gave you the link just for the graphic user interface. I think, didn't I? I'll give you the link for the rest of it. I'm sorry. I should be severely punished.
No, I went. No, you're fine. I went to the actual Chris Titus website, and I
Okay.
didn't understand what to do.
Oh, the Chris Titus website? Yeah, there's
Yeah.
you run a command in here for improving Windows. Let me see if I can get to it. His Windows utility.
Because in my case, I already have Windows 11 on a particular machine.
Yeah, here.
But I want to take the crap out.
This is I'll put it in, I can put it in the chat, so don't run it or it'll launch a program if you guys don't want it. But that's the
Mhm.
program it runs. And it comes up, let me put up the utility.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's gonna take me, there you guys go. Yeah, what it does is it runs a giant script and it says like, here's tweaks, disable this and disable that, install this, install that. And you can clean up Windows 10 within a couple of clicks.
So you're saying it downloads Windows on the spot?
The quick EMU downloaded Windows 10 on the spot for me. I installed it instantly with that quick EMU, and then after I ran that, I went into Chris Titus Tech and ran his program to make Windows 10 less bloated. Due to the fact I'm only going to run one
Okay.
program on it. If something breaks, chances are it's not going to be anything I'm going to be caring about.
Oh, smart.
You know what I mean? The worst thing that happens is something breaks. I can just reinstall it again. It's just a virtual box. Or virtual. You know what I mean? It takes seconds. So I get to screw around with this Chris Titus Windows Tech utility for fun. It was so cool.
How much RAM do you have on that machine?
This one, 32 gigs of RAM. It's tiny.
Oh, no wonder. Okay. No, it's a lot more than what I got. I got 4 on the machine that I'm using.
Oh, yeah, that might make a difference. So you can only throw 2 at a virtual, right?
It already has Windows on it. I'm trying to debloat what's already there,
Oh,
so I don't
yeah,
have to
yeah.
reinstall.
Well, look into that Chris Titus Tech thing. Try that out. See if you like it. It
Okay.
should clean up a lot for you.
Good.
I'm sorry. I thought I mentioned it once before, but it's probably a while ago.
You spoke about it on a recent episode, and that I kind of heard the tail end of it, but I was like traveling, so I couldn't really get the full gist of what was going on.
Oh, okay.
But thanks.
No problem. It's the first thing I did right all day.
So Ronan says, you should always run every command given to you on YouTube chat. Absolutely. By absolutely, I mean no. And
Well, Swift is.
Code 2610 says, I don't need Win 11 utility. My Win 11 never connects to the internet. That's probably a good idea. I wish I could say the same, but I can't. So I got
Yeah,
I need it for work only.
I need as lean an installation as I can get without sacrificing what's necessary.
Right.
I would just use bottles, but that gave me trouble.
Yeah. Well, excellent. Well, thank you very much, Jinda. So I got quite a few links there to throw into the show notes, and that should hopefully be helpful for future things for people.
Yeah, sorry to bore everybody to tears.
No, absolutely not. No, that was great. I appreciate it, especially the quick GUI. I'm gonna give that a shot for sure. So I wanted to share something that I think might be helpful to some people if you're running Wayland on a with fractional scaling with multiple screens. I don't know how many people use LibreOffice, but I use it all the time. So I was having some trouble. So I got some new screens here, which I've talked about, and they're a much higher resolution than the 1080p screens I had before. And I want to make it so like the scale things as such that when I move from one screen to another, it all kind of looks like aligned or whatever. And the problem was I could not leave these screens at 100%, my big dual up screens at 100%, because like LibreOffice, the scaling would make them, would oversize the GUI elements, the tools and everything else. And so oversized UI elements, I should say. Anyway, so every once in a while I would go digging to see if I could find a solution to this, and I ended up looking for another solution. I looked for a solution again, ended up going down reading down the bug report and how to solve this, and ended up finding that solution. And so I wrote a little article on the cubiclate.com. You can check it out if you want. That tells you how I fixed it by just basically forcing LibreOffice to use X Wayland specifically, the XCB system, which is slightly newer than the XLib. But anyway, so it does. And I did some research as to why it works too, and I got that on there as well. But anyway, so it also gave me a performance boost on how the application operates. So apparently, the LibreOffice is not Wayland ready, but with a little tweak, it can make it so it works great on Wayland by forcing it to use X things, I guess. So anyway, so if you want to check that out, it's a short little article. I guess it's not all that short, but it might be useful if you have if you do fractional scaling and you have different monitors of different scales. So that may be of some help too. So anyway, I just want to share that. What's that?
Can you post a link?
Oh, I sure can.
You're a good man.
You're a good man.
Charlie Brown.
Hey,
yeah. While you're speaking of this, I wanted to correct something I said last week.
Okay.
My daily driver is running X, not Wayland.
Okay.
I have a beta version of the desktop that I'm running on my laptop that uses Wayland, and I don't know why I just assumed it was all Wayland, but it wasn't. So I checked after that just to make sure. So That's a correct editorial correction.
Well, I don't think anybody was harmed by that slight mistake.
Oh, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna sleep well at night now.
Jinda, I saw it in your face, man. I saw it. You know,
But
that you weren't going to be able to sleep anymore.
you could see the disappointment just all over his face about the story correction.
Hey, did you get my message, Nate? I sent you on Discord, probably not. After we chatted today.
I probably didn't see it. Nope, I didn't.
Okay. Anyway, when you think it's appropriate to bring that up, let me know. Because
Okay.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah, that'll be good. Let's do some news stories, and we can go over this right after that. I think it looks interesting. Okay, cool. That's good. Well, I should have read that sooner, but thank you for that. I want to welcome Adam to the stream. Thank you so much for showing up. I always love to see your avatar face. It makes me happy anyway.
Well, at least one. That's fine.
Adam, it makes everybody happy when they see that smile.
See, Adam.
Excellent.
Everybody loves your smiling face.
I don't think children agree, but I'm glad you guys do.
Have you been scaring small children again?
Not on purpose.
I didn't say it was on purpose.
I often act like a child.
I kind of still am a child, hence 225 Hot Wheels cars behind me.
I don't see a problem with that.
That's actually pretty rad, yeah.
Do you know who Balt Matrix is? He's a YouTuber, a pretty big YouTuber that does like Transformers content. He's got a great channel. Well, for the reason I got to talking to him on the Twitter X Twitter, and
eggs.
Eggs Twitter.
Just eggs. Like,
eggs.
Yeah, I just figured it's funnier.
That's kind of funny, yeah. But for quite a while now, he actually started using OpenSUSE. Then he started like asking me questions on Twitter. When it was Twitter, or maybe it was X at the time. I don't know. I don't care. On that social platform. Anyway, so he reviewed some Transformers toys that were like the ones I had as a kid, but I never completed the collection because parents didn't want to spend the money or whatever. And so like that 8-year-old or whatever it was, whatever age I was at the time, never got to get the combiner, the Autobot. Can't remember what it's called right now, but the planes, the planes that combine together. Anyway, so he reviewed one, and I said, anyway, so basically told me that he's got an extra one, so I bought it from him. But anyway, I'm really excited because I'm trying to make that inner child of mine happy. That was what I was thinking about the I'm forever a child. But what I was going to say to you, Adam, did you join today because you want to talk about how I played Minecraft? Is that what you wanted to do?
You know what? You got me.
It was very stupid.
I'm always willing to talk about that. That seems pretty cool.
But I don't want to make this a show about me. So, but anyway, we can, if there's anything gaming you want to bring up, for sure we can do that. Because actually, I do have a couple of gaming topics that I'm hoping that you might have a little insight on.
I'll do my best.
All right. Awesome. So we should probably get to that straw poll. We're like 34 minutes into this shindig here. We should probably start, digging through to the meat of this thing. So straw poll. If you haven't done the straw poll yet, there's still some time to knock it out if you so choose. But it is your primary OS is installed on what kind of hardware, like storage medium. So I didn't see a lot of responses. I did happen to. Cody said he switched to OpenSUSE Tumbleweed a week ago. Oh, that's fantastic news. I hope it works out well for you. Works out well for me. Anyways, if you want to knock that out, I thought the results of this straw poll I thought were incredibly interesting because I kind of wasn't expecting it, but maybe I should have. I don't know. Anyway, so I did get one response from Eric Adams on Mastodon. He said, NVMe is more popular than I expected. It seems like more people are choosing to use Linux on newer hardware. And so checking the straw poll now, looked like in first place by like clear first place is non-volatile memory host controller interface specification, or NVMe, with 70% of the votes. That did surprise me also. Not that it was just by a little bit, but by quite a lot. Does that surprise anybody? Not Adam.
Yeah, a little
obviously.
bit. I figured SATA SSDs would be more common than that.
Yeah, I thought so too. And actually NVMe is what I use primary here, my primary back there. I think primary everywhere now, except for my server, which I could put one of those boss cards in there, I suppose. And then in second place at 25% or 25.5% is solid state drives. And then in last place with 4% was spinning hard drives, so HDD, so spinning rust. So I think that's pretty wild. I was not expecting that result at all. I'm sure, Adam, you're NVMe. Mike, you're probably what do you have on your?
I mean, on this
on your
machine, it's
system?
NVMe. My other one is my OS is on a Jazz drive, and I load apps from mini disk.
That's awesome. I've never loaded an application from a mini disk. That's like, it's on my bucket list of things to do. Probably I should do it.
And neither have I, because I totally lied about it, but it sounds cool.
Well, let's go back to you didn't lie about it. So what's the experience like?
Right. Let's just say you don't want to swap.
Okay.
Don't run out of memory.
Because they had what, like, how much would that hold? The mini disk.
Jazz drive? Oh, the mini disks. I want to say it was close to 700 megs or so, maybe. Because it was higher density than like a CD, but I don't think it was. I think maybe the later ones did, but ones used for data, not so sure.
So standard mini disk can store approximately, and this is according to Google's AI, so that's the first thing it shows on top, 280 megabytes of data. However, the high MD format, which is a later evolution of the mini disk, can store up to 1 gigabyte of data.
Yeah, that's the ones I would have had at the time. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
But yeah, NVMe and a desktop and whatever the heck protocol that Apple uses in their laptops.
So Jazz drive was 1 gigabyte per disk, and then in 1998 it was 2 gigabytes per disk, which actually in 1998, 2 gigabytes per disk, that's
pretty large.
Yeah. I never had a Jazz drive. But I did have zip disks because I use them for
I had a
school.
zip drive, I just didn't have any disks.
Oh, so with our powers combined, we could store
100 megabytes of what?
Of what? Something amazing.
We could store a single Discord installer.
Hey, if anybody wants a zip disk, I'll just send it to you. I've got a USB one with some empty disk if you want it.
I had a Power Mac G4 that just never got zip disks for. Had the zip drive in it. Never.
I think it'd be
bothered to
fun.
use it.
This is like totally a side tangent, but I think it'd be fun to build like out of an old beige tower specifically. Maybe something newer, but that's like aluminum, like one of those. Anyway, but build a tower that has like every kind of storage medium that was released in either a 3.5 inch or 5.5 inch format, like internal drives.
Right.
So like to have like, obviously 3.5 inch, 5.25 floppies, and then Jazz and zip and mini disc, like all of them. Of course, CD-ROM, Blu-ray, just everything in one. Like it's kind of I'd probably do that, look at it and be like, oh, that was fun. Now what? So I probably won't do it, but I think it would be fun to do that or to have that.
I think the wackiest storage thing I can recall off the top of my head was when Action Retro made a RAID array out of floppy drives and then hosted a website off of it.
Oh my gosh, he did? I haven't seen that one.
He made like 32 floppy drives rated in his RAID 0, and he had it up as like a website at one point.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the videos are out there. They're pretty great.
Hey, wasn't there some storage solution? It looked like a 3.5 inch floppy, but it was like twice as thick.
Yeah, I can't remember what that
kind of looked like that.
It was smaller than a zip disk.
It was like the LS120 drives.
Yeah, I think it was like it looked like a floppy.
Yeah.
but it had slightly different, like the flap was a little bit different. It was like 2.88
Yeah.
Yeah.
meg.
I'd forgotten all about those till we start talking about zip drives.
It was like super density or some
Yeah,
stupid
something like
name
that.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can find
Something
out.
IBM did.
Okay. The 2.88 megabyte.
If somebody wants a zip drive, I'll be happy to send it to them if they want to play with it. I have no use for it.
Cool. Yeah, there's in 1988, the YE data introduced the 2.88 megabyte double-sided extended zip or disk floppy disk. Huh. Who would have thought? It lived a short life, I guess.
So what were the rankings again? So NVMe was at the top. What was following?
No, yes, NVMe and then solid state. So NVMe now it's at 68, almost 69%. Solid state is at 27%, and then spinning hard disk is at 4%. Pretty wild.
Yeah, okay.
I have returned, friends.
Oh, good.
And Nate,
So-
I have one thing to tell you. Chaston is going to be attending again.
Sure, if you can attend, that's great.
I sent him the link. He'll be in hopefully shortly. So
Gotcha. All
I
right,
don't believe
so
you.
we'll go ahead and move on to the news flight night. So something interesting. I think this is, and it could be a good discussion around it. But looks like Fortnite will return to iOS as court slams Apple's interference and cover up. So got to put the notes in there. So there's a I'll put the news story in here as well. But anyway, so I read through this, and interesting. So there was a Epic CEO and founder Tim Sweeney said that in a Zoom call with press Wednesday night that the company is going to do everything we can to bring Fortnite back to iOS App Store next week. The decision comes after federal district court found late Wednesday that Apple was in willful violation of a 2021 injunction designed to allow iOS developers to steer customers to alternate payment processors for in-app purchases. So that 2021 injunction wound its way through the years of appellate review until January 2024. The Supreme Court declined to hear the final attempt by Apple to overturn it. Since then, the district court in Northern California has been holding a series of evidentiary hearings examining the internal development of Apple's so-called compliance plan for the injunction. That's just a thought. It doesn't seem like a Supreme Court kind of thing would weigh in on that. Does that seem like a Supreme Court kind of a? I don't know. Anyway,
I don't think so.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like. It's more like a I don't know, like a. It feels like a small claims court type of thing. You know what I mean? I know it's not small claims, but it seems like more
right. Like if there was a lot more like federal agency involvement or something like that, then maybe, right?
Yeah.
Like, if it was like an FTC, FCC kind of thing, or yeah, it just doesn't seem like the Supreme Court would weigh in on that.
Right. And it just seemed kind of petty with Apple too. Anyway.
Right.
So in a scathing Wednesday night order, District Court Judge Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers determined that Apple had engaged in a plan to thwart the injunction's goals and then engage in an obvious cover-up to prevent that plan from being revealed. Apple's response to the initial injunction strained credulity. The judge said by changing a new 27% commission for off-app purchases and adding new barriers such as full-page scare screens to increase friction for users seeking off-app payment alternatives. These moves demonstrated Apple's intent to continue its anti-competitive conduct solely to maintain its revenue stream, the judge writes. More than that, Judge Gonzalez-Rogers said that Apple's in-court testimony in initial hearings on that conduct were in stark contrast to evidence that came to the court later via contemporaneous business document that showed that Apple knew exactly what they were doing at every turn, chose the most anti-competitive option. The judge wrote Apple VP of Finance Alex Roman outright lied under oath in testimony about Apple's internal deliberations according to the court order, while CEO Tim Cook chose poorly in actively deciding not to comply with the court's injunction. Judge Gonzalez Rogers wrote that Apple's conduct in court represents a clear and convincing violation of her initial injunction that had been referred to the district attorney in Northern California to investigate whether criminal contempt proceedings are appropriate. Apple continued attempts to interfere with competition will not be tolerated, Gonzalez Rogers wrote, as an injunction, not as negotiation. There are no do-overs once a party willfully disregards a court order. Time is of the essence. The court will not tolerate further delays. In a statement provided to Ars Technica, an Apple spokesperson said, "We strongly disagree with this decision. We will comply with the court's order, and we will appeal." So that means Epic's going to return. And so we'll see how this all kind of shakes out. But so speaking to the press Wednesday night, Sweeney said that the court order was a huge victory for developers looking to offer their own payment service alongside Apple's on iOS device. This is what we all wanted all along. He said, "We think that this achieves the goal that we've been aiming for in the US, while there are still some challenges elsewhere in the world." So, couple of things on that. What do you think of the decision? Specifically you, Adam. Do you think that was because I can see the argument that it's Apple's store, so they make the rules, it's their playground, but it does seem very anti-competitive.
Yeah, I think their store policies have kind of been proven several times over to be anti-competitive. I mean, the appeals process being what it is, if you kind of leave a sort of trail of defeats in your wake, it doesn't exactly look great. And I think their policies are really bad for competition. And if that was all it was, then that'd be one thing. But the really heinous thing is their kind of legal finagling around the rules and around the injunctions, around all of the decisions, trying to cover it up, just genuinely like not obeying the kind of requirements in good faith. Just all of that, just it's pretty gross. The other bad thing is that, and this is sort of related, is that this is really just their legal team that's doing this, and all of the engineers and developers and everyone else who works at Apple are just kind of getting dragged through the coals along with this really awful legal team, because the legal team is making these really bad decisions, but it reflects badly on everyone there. And I feel like it's unfortunate that there's not enough separation of like the departments, as if the people building the laptops or phones or whatever have any say in what the legal team is doing, right?
Right.
That's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, it's true. They kind of get the brunt of some of this. I don't know. What would you call it? Fallout.
Yeah, just right, because it'd be really easy for someone to say like, well, to look at Apple as if this is like this monolith, right? Like, oh, the entirety of the company is doing this, but no, just some really crappy lawyers are doing this.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, though, the Apple CEO, what's his name? I just read it. I can't remember his name now.
Tim Apple?
Tim Cook.
Tim Cook Apple. Tim Apple Cook.
Yeah, I mean,
he
like
didn't
leadership
stop
is
it.
complicit, right?
Right.
You can definitely argue that leadership is complicit, but what I'm saying is that the people at the bottom of the rungs there are getting kind of shafted because they have no say in all this, and
Right.
they're complicit because they have no authority to say otherwise.
It's Tim versus Tim. Although I will say, I have no like. I guess the other side, like for me, is I don't really care for Epic Games either because I don't like their practices. So it's like,
Dude, I
like...
was thinking the same thing. I'm like, really? Like this is like the clash of the buttholes. Like I don't want
Right.
to be on any of these guys' side.
Right, exactly. Like you're both jerk faces. I don't want either of you to win. Can somehow both of you lose this one?
That's like
So.
the best description I've ever heard of that issue. Flash in the buttholes.
It's true. Like I want them like to both have to pay something, pay a chunk off the national deficit or something.
I don't
like
know,
that. I don't
man.
know.
Like Tim Sweeney's just got that he's got that face that you just want to give him a wedgie, Like I don't know. That's the kind of guy he is to me. He's that nerd that became successful and then just like became an ass because of it.
Right. I don't know what it looks like. Yeah, he does. Yeah, yep.
Like,
I know I just got here.
Yeah, that is the face of a man who has received double digits of swirlies.
Yes,
I know I
Vince.
just got here, but I appreciate that as soon as I arrived, I'm getting this mental image of two dudes just clashing butts.
Oh God.
It's like sumo.
My
wrestling,
imagination
but
is
better.
great.
In your mind, it might be great. Yeah.
I don't know exactly how I want to. I don't want to figure out the mechanics of what you're thinking.
Yeah.
I just
I
thought
mean,
of
it's just it's butt wrestling.
Just thought of Dixon Dallas events.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
I'm Australian. I think we think different.
it's true.
Oh, sorry. Trademarked.
Oh, well, now you're in trouble. You might actually be fined by Apple for that one. Although they don't think different anymore, I don't think. So, anyway, so that was exciting. I think it was definitely exciting adjacent to see that. Now, what can we beat on Epic for? I guess next. Now, in
Unreal Engine 5 performance sucks across the board, and they'll never do anything about it.
I'm sorry. Say it again. What doesn't? What sucks?
Unreal Engine 5 performance is pretty bad across the board, and they'll never do anything about it. Unreal Engine 3 sucked. Unreal Engine 4 sucked. 5 is no different. So there's the way I'm going to crap on Epic today.
Yeah. So there's another article in TechCrunch. It's a little bit shorter if you want to read that one too. Much the same stuff, but basically saying basically the same thing. So I kind of wish I don't know. I kind of wish Epic would not be buttheads about their stance toward Linux. So what can you do? What can you do? So it's just a thought. If the Fortnite servers went offline, could you do anything on that Fortnite game? Or is it pretty much all Ether?
Pretty much all Ether.
Yeah. That's kind of sad. Kind of like some of my kids, they for a while when there's during the Fortnite craze here, which has been a couple of years, I think. I know they want to spend some of their money they earned on Fortnite stuff, and like it made me upset, but because I knew it was a waste, and now they don't play it at all. So, and there's nothing, you don't have anything to keep to show for it. At least Minecraft we still play.
Yeah, I mean, look, the way I see it is, if they want to spend money on V-Bucks, that's cool. Because, like, Fortnite characters and skins are basically just action figures for kids these days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And tell me, I know that everyone here who had action figures, you had ones that broke. You had ones that got melted. You had ones that are destroyed. It's the same thing.
Except
spend the $10 they
Adam,
get to enjoy it when the servers are gone. They melted all their action figures.
Right.
Yeah, I suppose.
Well, I'll be honest with y'all. I didn't play with really any action figures when I was a kid in the 90s.
Yeah, neither did I. I had dolls.
No, I just I played with Yu-Gi-Oh cards was my area of fun. That was it. But that's all I really did.
So I have another article here from Axios. Does anybody read Axios? I try not to. But there's a Anthropic warns fully AI employees are a year away. Is anybody concerned about AI taking away jobs yet?
I haven't paid that much attention.
I haven't either. So Anthropic expects AI-powered virtual employees to begin roaming corporate networks in the next year. The company's top security leader told Axios in the interview this week. So why it matters, managing those AI identities will require companies to reassess their cybersecurity strategies at risk, exposing the networks to major security breaches. Big picture, virtual employees could be the next AI innovation hotbed. Jason Clinton, the company chief security officer, told Axios. Its agents typically focus on specific programming tasks. In security, that means having autonomous agents respond to phishing alerts and other threat indicators. Virtual employees would take that automation a step further. These AI identities would have their own memories, their own roles in the company, and even their own corporate accounts and passwords. They would have a level of autonomy that far exceeds what agents have today. In that world, there are so many problems that we haven't solved yet from a security perspective that we need to solve, Clinton said. So between the lines, those people, the problems include how to secure the AI employee user accounts, what network access should be given, and who is responsible for managing its actions. So I guess, is this like presenting a problem that doesn't have a solution? Wait. Talk about it requiring a solution that doesn't have a problem yet, or
A solution to a problem that doesn't exist. Yeah.
a solution to a problem that doesn't have to exist.
Right. I mean, just from my experience in corporate IT environments, enterprise IT environments, like that sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, it does.
Not just from like replacing people, but like as an administrator, because like when you're an employee, you typically sign agreements of like your terms of use agreements and acceptable use, and there's a lot of like stuff that there's a lot of consequences for transgressions when it comes to like data security or information security, personal identifiable stuff, all that.
Right.
So how do you punish the AI employee? Like what?
You take away
Right,
its electricity.
Right, but like it's not really an employee. It's so when it inevitably oversteps what's acceptable, what's the recourse?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, do you think your phishing email campaign is going to matter to the AI employee? Like it's you know what I'm saying? Like there's too much chance for it to just do something else. And as someone who's I've used the agent modes and coding stuff like Cursor and other stuff, right? I guess well, now it's collectively referred to as vibe coding. But I've used that and I've seen it like go in circles and like make mistakes and try to correct the mistakes and only make more mistakes in the correction. And like I've seen this happen, and that's what we currently have. So a year from now, yeah, maybe like things have accelerated quite fast. But yeah, this is basically a product offering from various places because they've run out of products to offer. And a more capable model, like going from GPT 4.0 to GPT 4.5 or whatever, isn't as tantalizing of an upgrade as it once was. So now this is the next product to keep that wave going. And if your company or organization buys in on this, your leadership is bad, really, really bad. And that's the thing. That's what I'm going to take away from these kind of things is if you see a company that does this, don't work for them. Don't have anything to do with them because they are bound for the drain at that point.
Yeah.
Because they don't fully understand the consequences of doing such a thing.
So Adam, like you mentioned these agents and these models making mistakes and doing things like going round and round in circles. But I'd put to you though, have you yet to know, like any person who hasn't done that sort of thing, like in terms of make mistakes or go round and round in circles when they can't figure something out. It happens in people too, right?
Right. So here's the difference. The AI agent never asks for help, never consults another
Oh,
person, never gets to the
I know
outside.
people.
Right.
I know people who are like that too.
Well, sure. And are they not just as dangerous? Are they not? But here's the difference. What's that person who keeps making mistakes and is not productive can be removed from employment. But removing the AI employee is what? You remove the AI product? Like that's it's so the difference here is like if the one person is a moron and can't quite get it, then you can get rid of that moron. But the equivalent here of getting rid of the AI product is like this one guy's an idiot, so the entire department gets laid off.
I think I feel I've just been outed as an AI. I'll be senior. No, I get it. I completely get it. I was really being devil's advocate here.
No,
in terms
that's
of-
fair. That's fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
but and that's the issue, right? Because these things are extremely expensive. They're very resource intensive. They're very environmentally intensive, and you're just going to have a department of what help desk agents that spin their wheels. I mean, we already have those.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. I mean, it is definitely a case that they are a tool and should be seen still as such a tool.
Right.
And that whilst they will improve, you really can't sort of figure them for. Um, if you're going to be leaning that hard into them at the expense of someone who can actually recognize mistakes and can actually correct their course. You're right. I think that if management are leaning into that sort of thing, they've really taken the wrong, the direction's just
Right.
not quite
They can't
right.
recognize what a good candidate is at that point.
It's essentially the decision was only money line must go up decision, right?
Yeah.
Money
That
line
would be
must go up in the short term.
Yes, short term. Mhm.
the short-sighted thinking. Well, Don Lackland says, I think this is more of a press release for Anthropic than anything else. Yeah, probably. Scrubgo says we already
Just
have
another product.
Yeah. Scrubgo says we already have applications that have usernames and passwords. Using an application that has just been trained to do a job is not a bad idea as long as it's restricted to it to do its job. So
I disagree. I don't think restricting an AI bot to simply using a service account is sufficient. That is not the same. An application just using a single service account is not the same as an AI agent that might have access to other things. Because the idea of these AI employees are not to limit them to a specific role. Like you said, we already have application APIs that can do that through service accounts. If you're going to replace your help desk agents, you need help desk agents that have access to various systems and not just one at a time. And to provide a good customer experience, there's no way that it's like, hey, I need my password reset. Okay, let me change you over to the password reset guy. Let me change you over to this guy, having a bot for every single bespoke task would just clog up the system and kind of defeat the point because, well, the password reset form does what the password reset AI could have done. And it just seems like just limiting them to a service account is missing the point of what they're supposed to be. And that therein lies the problem, because now you have to have this AI employee's account that has access to reset passwords, that has access to, various maybe branch or small office things like printers and other things. Maybe it needs access to clean up storage or any number of things a help desk agent would have to do. It needs to be able to do at any given moment, and that's a nightmare.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Because it doesn't have the same consequences. If a person does something bad, there are consequences, whether it be reprimand, termination, or even legal action. But an AI doesn't have that. And so if it decides to do something bad, what do? You clean up the mess, but then what's the solution? Are you going to teach the other AIs, hey, don't click this button? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Adam, 100%. I tell you, I've got one client that's using AI agents, and actually what they're using it for is a good use and is saving them quite a bit of money. And that is it's acting as a research assistant. So what happens is an application comes in for, well, it's a VC, okay? An application comes in and they look at all aspects of that application using an AI agent, and then it goes out and rounds up information of similar type businesses and similar sizes. And there's about 200 different variables that it goes and looks at. And then it reports all that back in a nice report. That saves someone probably 2 days of work manually doing that. And but that's not a mission critical role either. You know, someone could actually sit down and do it if they have to. But I agree for mission critical things, I don't. It's nowhere near ready. You know, I just don't see it.
I think my concern is the AI doing things outside of the scope of the AI, or because they do daydream and they do weird things sometimes. Like I don't know that I would want that necessarily. You know what I'm saying? You give it a lot of power, and it has no concept of responsibility, because with great power comes great responsibility. So Ronan says, I'm more concerned about access to private information exposed to the AI companies rather than AI actions for now. So then how would you feel about an internally run AI? Would that change your mind?
Yeah, that's what these are. These are internally ran bots. They're not, they do go out and scrape the internet, but they're not, they're not harvesting private information.
So many of the hyperscale AI folks, Google, Microsoft, Anthropic, etc., OpenAI, they have agreements that the enterprises can enter to make sure that their company's data is not being trained on and not being stored and all of that. The issue is, of course, the everyday person doesn't get that
Right.
that extended to them, but that is an option. And again, it's a matter of consequence, right? If the company is found to be training their stuff on it despite the agreement, now we have legal ramifications and such. And so it's all about having some sort of skin in the game. And when the person doing the work doesn't exist, there's really no skin in the game.
Right.
It's funny you said that, Adam, because I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but a lot of the projects I do would use Cloudflare as a web proxy on the front end and on the SaaS projects. And they actually have a tool that confuses AI. So what happens if it sees an AI bot that's identified as an AI bot or a known AI bot, it will literally just start feeding it links to confuse it, random links.
There was a thing on I think Brody Robertson, I think is his name. He's an Australian guy. He does some videos, and he actually talked about there was some someone who actually works in AI professionally. He built a tool to block AI from scraping websites by it just checks to make sure a human using Cloudflare. I don't know if that's the same project. So War Thunder says, I agree. Companies already have issues with real people using AI, let alone the AI on its own. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And he continues with, I'm pretty sure you can't lay off an AI. Michael Tennell says, AI is the best, yo. And then he also says that we need to have Spider-Man AI that understands responsibility. Don Lickland says, AI is not Skynet. We can, but often don't build guardrails to limit potential damage. Just like we do with every kind of automation already. Michael Tennell says, I think this is a joke. He says how it comes across. They don't have skin in the game, but they do have circuits. in the game. I like that. That made me laugh. So, all right. Well, on some more maybe fun news. I know it's fun news, but more news, maybe exciting. I'm sure Adam would be on board. Fedora 43 to remove GNOME X11 support. Is anybody bothered by this?
You mean they haven't already?
Yeah, I thought they did already.
I thought they did too. I really did.
So it aligns with the efforts from the upstream GNOME project to focus entirely on Wayland from now on. I just talked about the issues I had with Wayland too, so that's fun. X11 is singing its swan song while some Linux distributions still rely on it. The major players are steadily moving toward replacing it with Wayland or even dropping X11 support entirely. Now Fedora is making clear moves in that direction. That said, yesterday, Neil Gampa made a new proposal to remove every GNOME X11 package from the distribution repositories. If the Fedora Engineering and Steering Committee accepts the Wayland-only GNOME change for Fedora 43, scheduled for release in late October or early November, users who still log into GNOME on Xorg will be transparently switched to the default GNOME Wayland session. For GNOME developers, X11 has been on extended support for quite a while. Upstream maintainers finished addressing the last user experience blockers with GNOME 48 and plan to disable X11 at compile time in GNOME 49, with complete removal slated for GNOME 50. So Fedora's proposal simply moves that schedule forward by one release, arguing that nobody upstream or downstream has the bandwidth to keep patching X11 specific packages. Okay, so what changes for users? In short, seamless upgrades. System updates from early Fedora releases will boot straight into GNOME Wayland. The display manager, GDM, will no longer offer an X11 session. Legacy apps unaffected. The X11 only application will still run through X-Wayland, so day-to-day software availability should not change. Fallback paths, power users who truly need native X11 desktop can switch to an alternative environment such as Cinnamon Mate with different login manager like LightDM. Moreover, Fedora's change mirrors the upstream strategy. No maintainers introduced the enable X11 support build flag in GNOME 48, which distributors can now disable entirely. In other words, keeping X11 alive on Fedora will soon require killing extra patches work community is not eager to shoulder. Just to be clear, this is still only a proposal for now, but it signs that point to it being approved by the FESCO, that's the Fedora Engineering and Steering, a key governing body within the Fedora project that oversees various technical decisions related to the distro's development. In conclusion, Fedora 43 is shaping up to be an exciting release, or to be 48. With several changes on the way, including introduction of the still in development RPM6 package manager. So there's a lot to look forward to. If you'd like to follow the discussion about the proposal to drop X11 support, so you can check it out here. I'll put that link as well in the chat if you want to look at that. So here we are. So I guess what do you think of the removal of X11 at this point?
Oh,
I mean,
well,
there's
that's a guy who still heavily relies on it for XFCE, Nate. I don't know.
No, it's
I'm
for
just
GNOME.
not.
It's the GNOME. So it's
for GNOME, yeah.
yeah,
Oh
it's not
no, well, look, I mean, GNOME wise, it's the thing is, it's probably, in my eye for Xorg on GNOME and KDE and all these more modern looking desktops, it's like it's on borrowed time at this point. So, and I mean, they can only backport it for so long that it's kind of at the point that eventually all desktops, not just GNOME and KDE and all of these, but they're not in my mind, X11, like I said, it's on like life support by a dang thread at this point, if you ask me. That's just how I look at it.
So Nate, you had mentioned how, or we had just mentioned how Anthropic coming out with AI agents was a solution looking for a problem.
Yep.
It's not too dissimilar here that I feel like bringing up Wayland as a replacement for X is just natural and that it's useful for riling up the people who don't like Wayland for some reason.
So I guess I have a couple of thoughts on that. One, I understand, X has just been around for so long. So many things are wrapped around X. So if you have, since it looks like X Wayland is pretty close to being the compatibility layer that can manage it. So what at this point, what are you losing by going Wayland? Like just forget the I love X. Like just from a technical perspective, as a user.
I mean, there are various apps that don't. I mean, OBS Studio and Wayland is fairly gimped compared to the X version, for example. Like browser docs is a good example. The issue is there are certain cases, whether they be edge or just genuine cases, where Xorg is still the option to really go with. But the overall, it's more of like a greater good question at that point. Like, is it better overall for Linux to just rip the Band-Aid off and move to Wayland and stop catering to the things that won't port over? Or should you just constantly have this sort of albatross of Xorg hanging around you, and you end up with cases like OBS is not really, they haven't got their web docs trans over because the Chrome embedded framework doesn't work properly on Wayland. Well, if Wayland was the only option, then there's your target, right? So it's either the CEF guys target it or they don't. And like that's kind of the issue is like you have people who are still targeting software based on X and not moving forward. I mean, Valve just released their Proton 10 beta, and guess what it doesn't have? The new Wind Wayland driver. It's still using X Wayland. And there are probably reasons for that. I've tried the Wayland driver. The performance is about as useful as the butts we were talking about earlier. So there's still work to be done. But does that mean that you should just stick with the old stuff because there's always work to be done? Like, that's the nature of open source. You've been around long enough, you'll see like a new thing comes out and it's cool, but guess what? It doesn't just stop there. It's always something new. It's always improving. So how much, it's not really the X guys or the Wayland people having to cater to X. It's the application developers building things that only work properly on Xorg and not Wayland. And it's like, eventually you have to just kind of cut that off and move forward. And if you don't, you will always have these developers that will latch onto the old thing and not move forward.
Right.
Plain and simple.
I think we've also got to be reminded that the X guys and the Wayland guys are the same guys.
They are the same guys. Yeah.
So you're completely right about the app developers.
Yeah,
So
but it hasn't the Wayland been around for like 15, 16 years?
So in 2012, when I was doing stuff with display link drivers and on OpenSUSE actually, I remember in the forum it said that by next year, Wayland will replace X, and I didn't think much of it.
Yeah.
Except that was in 2012, so it didn't happen. But okay, all right. So Adam, from a user perspective, I don't consider myself a power user necessarily. I'm not. Maybe I am. I don't know. I like all the additional lickies and chewies I get with the Wayland desktop, and then the fact that I have X Wayland also operating there, which seems to be very efficient as the compatibility layer, that bridge for applications that don't support Wayland. It appears to me from just as a user that's just going by fields that the Wayland desktop experience is much smoother. It doesn't have the screen tearing. There's a lot of things that just doesn't have problems. I can do the multi-screen fractional scaling, and everything just seems to work great. So I don't get that with X, so I can't actually use my modern hardware effectively with X. And I'm thinking like, so I'm actually using OBS right now on Wayland. I'm not using anything fancy, so I don't notice that. But I feel like at this point I'm only losing features and functions and cool things when I use X11 instead. So am I an edge case here, or is it just? I mean, how would you rationalize that with your previous statement?
I think if there's a compatibility or translation layer underneath, then it lessens the blow, right?
Right.
The reality is the reality that I see is that the desktop is not the problem. It's the applications themselves. And if in this case they want GNOME to move forward with just Wayland, because Mutter and other things work just so great with Wayland under GNOME, that now puts the onus on the app developers to either update or get left behind. And that should be the thing. That if you look at Windows, for example, this insistence on backwards compatibility leaves so much stuff and so much cruft in the OS that it can't ever meaningfully move forward because of all of the backwards compatibility it's required to maintain. I mean, there's still a phone dialer in there if you look hard enough. But like Linux doesn't have to have that problem. Apple didn't have that problem. You know, they created their compatibility layer when they switched to Apple Silicon, and they're like, hey, your Intel stuff will still run, but this is what we're doing forward. That's the same model that Wayland and X Wayland offer. And if your app is so special and so unique snowflake that it can't run even under X Wayland properly, then that's your app's problem. The rest of the Linux ecosystem should not have to halt in place because this guy can't get his stuff done.
So I think, speaking of OBS, I know there's something like global shortcuts didn't work in Wayland because of the security.
Right, because there wasn't the portals weren't updated to allow for it. That's
Right.
not the case anymore. Those
Right.
are
So,
available now.
Yeah, so I guess that's
Right.
right. So that's been fixed with the portals.
Mhm.
So
Like all
now
these,
actually,
that's the thing. These little edge cases get whittled away over time, and that's why I believe, and I'm not Neil and the others, so I don't know, but that's why I would propose that switching to Wayland only is valid, because those edge cases have been whittled down to so few as to not matter. And now we have to move forward.
so Barcoover says Wayland equals failure or equals. I'm not sure if that's something. If they negate each other, I don't know.
It's a programming thing. No.
Yeah, I guess I have to be a programmer to understand equals. I understand it before. Failure is something else needed, and he does also say that it's 20 years old now, so it's not really new tech. Yeah, but things are like, I can see that point.
It's easy to say Wayland's a failure without coming up with an alternative.
Right.
It's not very useful to come up and say something sucks without telling me something that doesn't.
Well, I guess my problem there is I don't know what. Okay, the only thing I would say that X still does better in my limited experience is if I want to run like something on an NVIDIA card, using the Thunderbolt dock I have for like eGPU, I did not have good performance on the NVIDIA. I got 30 frames per second. It's kind of terrible. But running it in X, I can get the 60 frames or whatever the screen can handle. So I guess that's an NVIDIA issue, and maybe that's
that's probably on NVIDIA, right? If the target is Wayland, then people have to, including some folks like the folks at NVIDIA, that's what they have to target.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't understand how people get hung up on that. It's the platform specifies what the platform is. If you want your thing on the platform, you cater to the platform. That's
right.
That just makes sense to me. It's like, I'm gonna go on Windows, but I don't want to use their toolkits. I want to use Swift. And so like, okay, if you want to bring Swift UI over, go ahead. And Apple did. That's it. They catered to the platform. They weren't just going to be like, no. They catered to the platform. They either brought their language over or you make it in the thing that the platform exists in. And that's really it. If everyone needs to switch to Wayland for all of the lickies and chewies you mentioned, then you need to switch. Don't kind of do this in and out thing. It's not useful for anyone. Linux, I feel like Linux stagnated for a long time because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So I guess maybe the one holdout then would be NVIDIA then, as far as it being for the desktop essentially. That'd be a hang up for some.
Yeah, I can see how some people would not want that, right? But that's again, we're talking. So you brought up the NVIDIA like Thunderbolt dock thing. That's a pretty edge case thing, and that's probably in that list of edge cases that are so infinitesimally rare that as to not matter, right? Now it matters to you because you wanted to do it, but how many yous are there that did that, right? And,
probably
or how many
3
of
or
yous
4
who did that? How many of yous who did that who had the performance problem too? Maybe others didn't. Maybe their docks just worked differently and didn't have the problem. But that Linux doesn't get anywhere as a desktop if we just keep catering to the old stuff, because you end up with a system that is just carrying around too much. And that's not useful. Then you get Windows, yeah.
Right. I think there's a way in Linux to carry some of the older things without being without it encumbering newer hardware, though. I think there is I think because the more dynamic nature of the Linux kernel and how packages can be, your software can be molded to whatever you need, which is what I like about Linux.
But also, as an app developer, wouldn't you want to provide the best experience for your users and add in those lickies and chewies and not just say, no, I don't like Wayland, so we're sticking with, no only integer scaling and that's all you're going to get? Or, like that. That's kind of the thing on the app developer. It's like, okay, if you're an app, this is my opinion, this is not the opinion of anyone else. If you are an app developer that wants to throw a tantrum about switching to Wayland native stuff, your app is not one I'm going to use. Yeah. Plain and simple.
Well, let me push back on that a little bit. I agree that everything that's been said so far, with the fact that we need to move forward, continue to move forward. As long as we have a good transition, a way to transition, that's the biggest thing. From a developer's perspective, yeah, it is on the developer. So are you going to have to support a code base that supports 2 different, Windows managers? I mean, you're already looking at open source applications, which people are doing in their spare time. And now you're putting another burden on them.
Well, I think that if your application is like Qt based, let's just say, it's the Kwin would handle that. So if your target is Plasma Desktop or whatever, or Kwin, Qt, then it will handle that. That's not a non-issue. I think the issues are more along the lines of, I think like specific functions and features that require that.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm talking about system level type applications, or hardware or direct communication hardware applications like OBS, things like, as an example, or something that uses the GPU, those kind of applications, which I don't write any of those kinds, so it doesn't matter to me. But the other issue is one of the things about Linux that a lot of people find attractive is you can go buy that $100 laptop at the Goodwill store and load Linux up. Well, how far do we support that kind of legacy hardware?
Well, that's the neat thing about the modularity though of Linux, because old hardware, although it may not be getting the same let's see, efforts as the newer technology,
Right.
it tends to still work. So I have this Dell Latitude D630. I've had it for many years. Bought it new in 2007. And I actually have the latest Plasma on here. It does have an NVIDIA GPU, but it actually runs really well with the open source drivers. And
Okay.
and so outside of the battery life isn't great. Although I did replace the battery, but I think it's just kind of like a hopeless thing at this point. It actually is a very snappy machine. This is a Core 2 Duo, and actually I just did a round of updates on it. It took a while to do the updates of Tumbleweed, of course, and it's actually, it's still a great machine running Plasma, and I know it's older. I forget what 64-bit V2 I think is, or maybe it's not V2. Anyway, the point is, I think this newer technology, the newer software still seems to run the old stuff, but I see the issue of like not being able to compile it under certain with like certain build flags,
Right.
for like taking advantage of some of the newer architectures. That
Yeah,
is potentially a problem.
Yeah, I'm not for or against it either way. Okay, I'm just, I guess, trying to point out issues that maybe that's the reason it's taken 20 years to get where we're at with it, is pecking away at these issues one by one.
Yeah, well, I think the thing too is like because it's open source, and it's like obviously not everyone can code or build packages or debug, and there's a lot of people. There's the pool of people to do the work is not huge, but
Right.
if let's say if let's say that you're very interested in maintaining a near 20-year-old machine, and you want to keep building packages for it and making them available, there's really nothing stopping you from doing that. It's going to be some work on your end,
Uh-huh.
but really, there's nothing actually stopping you, and it doesn't really, in my opinion, doesn't really inhibit the. Oh, by the way, that is also running Wayland too, just as an aside, because it runs better than X11 with the NVIDIA. So that's an oddball. Maybe because the open source driver. I don't know. Anyway, so there's nothing really stopping you. So if you really want to learn, do the compiling, build the software that works better for your system, that's absolutely possible. So that's something.
So now you kind of said what I was thinking about saying as well, in terms of something that I haven't been hearing is that I guess my concern is that there are people potentially still running software that's unmaintained, because we talk about stuff that's been active development, but the concern that I have with open source is that there are probably people who are running packages that they found on GitHub or some obscure website that are unmaintained and may never be maintained. They've just been left languishing, that would never get Wayland compatibility. But then I guess my point is more, should they be doing this? Should they be running all these old packages? Should they not be moving and then going on to complain, oh, then Wayland doesn't work for me because I'm running these old programs? Should they not be finding more modern, secure, safe alternatives?
That's a good argument. The one caveat to that is, and it's just a thought, but for older software, if it's really that important for you to run this older bit of software, for whatever reason it might be, I don't know. I'm not your doctor, but you could package it in something like a Flatpak to give it that security layer, and then be able to run it on a modern system.
So then you would have to take up the reins of maintaining it, because no one else is going to.
I think you can also, if it's that important to you, and let's say you make your money off of it, you could also probably hire somebody to do that as well. There's nothing really stopping that either.
Yes.
If it's a piece of software you're making money off of. So, there's that. There's I think I brought this up here before, but there's in near Indianapolis, Indiana, there is a donut shop that's still using Commodore 64s for their point of sale system. And they got 2 of them, I guess maybe because they break down. I don't know. So that it's, if you really want to run a piece of hardware or a piece of software, there is a way to do it. Just how much is the limit of your will, I guess, is what the limiting factor is there.
Right, because if I'm a bank and I have ATMs that still run OSX Warp, OS2, what is it? OS2 Warp, then that's on me to maintain it.
Yep. Exactly. What's that, Mike?
I said it's been a good discussion about this.
Yeah. Well, I think not everybody thinks so.
No, it's got kind of preachy from what I hear, but that's all good.
That's right. Don says it doesn't feel like a sincere conversation. It feels a little like preaching. I don't think so. For me, it's an honest
You're
question.
more than welcome to join the preaching.
You are. And you can. I like alternative viewpoints. Josh Allen says, "Are you affiliated with Tux Digital?" Was that directed toward me? I don't know. Wasn't, or is it just in general? Yes, loosely, but yes. Let's see. Snowflakes, tantrums. This is not helpful. I don't know who's having a snow tantrum. So let's see. Let's see. War Thunder says, I mean, if a piece of software gets the job done, is that a bad thing? No, I would say it's not a bad thing. I think the concern, because it's an ever changing digital environment, I think the concern is more along the lines of, you know, is your environment secure? I think is from cyber attacks. I think really is the main concern. So, I mean, there are old CNC machines that are air gapped. They're not connected to the internet at all, and they run Windows XP. Sometimes they still run DOS. So as long as it runs, and you're able to keep doing that. I'm sure Jinda, I'm sure you've seen that in the wild a lot. An old CNC that's a DOS. It's actually running a DOS application that's just running the G code. So the point is like what.
Yeah, that's a common thing to do on manufacturing equipment, to run something that you know is proven. And the way to know it's proven is that it's old.
Absolutely.
And
So-
when that happens, what do you do? I mean, think
so-
about it. You have a machine that's 10 years old, but it's really 30.
Yeah, but there are ways to mitigate the security risks for that. For instance, it's not connected to the internet, or if it is connected to a network, that network is isolated, through a DMZ or some other method to keep it from the scary internet from attacking it and taking advantage of its vulnerabilities. So you have to have modern things, or things of some level of modernization that's going to interact with with there are bad actors out there. That's kind of how I look at it.
But you know what, Nate? Being in this industry, I can tell you that there are, I'd say probably, if you're looking at vertical market stuff like manufacturing, there are probably 60% of the software that's out there is running on legacy hardware and legacy OS.
I believe it. I know
Because-
that
Yeah, because they don't, what it comes down to is these businesses, it's 2 or 3 people, and they don't have the resources to recode everything in another platform or another OS. I mean, they're just trying to earn a living,
so I've worked with a lot of like smaller vendors that build software,
Right.
and they can do it, and they do a good job, and they've actually been able to move it to more modern, frameworks. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's probably a good, or maybe not. Maybe that might be a good reason to move some of your framework to more of an open source framework, so you don't have to do as much of the work. You can concentrate on the proprietary bits, and then sell those.
I solved that problem by doing everything I can through the browser, and
Right. Things that can be, for sure, makes sense.
right.
But Shaston, welcome. nice for you to join the chat.
Yeah, thanks. I'm sorry I got here late. We had a bunch of errands to run earlier today and I just barely got in, so
Well, glad you're here for the tail end of the show, man.
yeah.
That's no worries at all.
I thought I was gonna make it a little earlier, but not really.
Hey, it could be worse, you know. Well, at least
Yeah.
you're here.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the whole Wayland X11 discussion?
Well,
Are you Wayland? Are you an X?
a little bit. I'm more X11, just because I like their tiling window managers a little better in X
Yeah.
than. I mean, like I like Hyperland and River, but they're not the same as like Xmonad or Spectre WM or something like that. They're just not the same. They don't behave the same. There's just a lot of things. But theoretically, I like Wayland. I like the whole concept of Wayland, kind of, but I also think they're trying to push us a little too quickly to it. And I still think that there are some security concerns that they haven't really let the public know about. And I understand that, like, if you use X, like, if you use like one application, you can use that application to, like, basically talk to another application and have kind of an unintended consequence. And so, in that sense, like, Wayland makes perfect sense because Wayland's kind of, like, it does, it doesn't allow for that. So, yeah, I think I like the security aspect of it. There's a lot of other things that they're not, that everybody, they're like the Rust developers. They're just trying to push everybody over to Rust or over to Wayland, and then we'll think about how we're going to handle some of the security later. They haven't, there's a few issues that I've seen so far. But I like the concept. I want to kind of help, with the development any way that I can, but at the same time, I think that there needs to be there just needs to be a broader understanding of how Wayland works. Like, everyone knows how X works. No one really knows how Wayland works, except for like 3 people. So that's my problem.
Well, I think Wayland. I mean, the developers of Wayland are the developers of X, and those developers want to move away from X for the
Mhm.
issues it has. So, I think the big difference is Wayland is a protocol that opens up the portals to different functions as opposed to everything being flat and open for everybody. So
Mhm.
the ease of use with X is due to its lack of security, while Wayland is more complicated due to its security requirements. And I think
Mhm.
it's also less of a hodgepodge of software too. I mean, because X is basically a patch with a patch with a patch. It's kind of it's like a Jenga tower at this point. So
Yeah, exactly.
but I
Yeah.
understand. I understand the trepidation toward that move for sure. But I want to get on to one other
Yeah.
story here. Before
Right.
too long. What did you say? I'm sorry. Your last thought on that?
I was just gonna say I agree with you. I do think that X is kind of like the junk drawer in your kitchen for all of your peripheral devices and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's
Like
probably a good way to put it.
yeah, it just like just like, oh hey, oh, we need a keyboard. Oh yeah, X. Oh hey, we need more support for like monitors. X. Mouse or whatever peripheral device that you're using, just throw it in X instead of, like, where, like, I don't think that was really a great idea, but they
Well,
didn't have any other way of doing it at the time.
sure. But I mean, when you look like 2020, well, hindsight's always 2020. But I mean, when they're
Yeah.
building it, it made sense at the time, and then things just
Yeah.
changed. I mean, if you've been using Linux in the late 90s, early 2000s, you would notice that like X actually did a lot more things to include like I think printing also. Yes, it did printing.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so it did everything, and then it kind of got sliced up, and then refactored, and then refactored again, and then so it's just sometimes it's better to kind of start afresh.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think that, like I said, on paper, this Wayland, and I actually have a question about that as to whether, I actually was looking at Mir before, and I actually thought that Mir was going to be the one to basically take the place of X, and then for whatever reason, Ubuntu just junked that idea, and then like everyone else did too. And I never understood why. No one ever said, but because for a while they were talking that Mir was going to take the replace of X.
I think
Yeah.
when Mir got good, it was during the time of everybody wants to hate canonical.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know, but I was, and there's a few people who swear that Mir is a better alternative than X.
Yeah.
I mean, than Wayland, sorry.
That's actually why they designed it, because they designed it saying that Wayland was not capable of doing what they needed to do, so they were going to make something better. Whether or not it
Yeah.
got better, I don't know, but that was their plan.
Yeah, there's people who say that the framework is actually better, and that, I mean, obviously the development's way behind right now because nobody's developing on it, but if
On
they
Wayland?
were to develop, yeah, no,
Oh, that's-
on Mir.
Oh, Mir. Oh,
Yeah. So but a lot of people swear that like the framework of Mir is actually better than the one on Wayland. I mean,
Could
it's
be.
kind of like the beta VHS argument, back in the day, beta was superior to VHS, but who won out?
The superior
Yeah,
format.
I'm outing my,
DVDs.
Yeah. Well, now DVDs, yeah. But
Nope.
before
No,
that,
now it's streaming.
Yeah, well, not, yeah, probably. But yeah, before that though, beta was the one that, everybody's like, no, the quality's like night and day. But VHS won out. It's kind of the same thing, I think, probably.
Yeah, could
Just
be.
the marketing for Wayland just basically put Mir in the garbage, but I don't know.
Well, I
There's
always
a
want to.
dozen different comparisons we could make. It ain't even fun.
I want to get to one more
Yeah,
story here
probably.
before it gets too late here because we're almost out of time. So
Yeah.
Ubuntu 24.04 is now available for OrangePis and new RISC-V single board computers. Now, I think this is exciting because I'm a big fan of single board computers because you can stick them pretty much in anything. And so the news underscores Canonical's ongoing interest in the fledgling open source architectures. Last year, Deep Computing released the Ubuntu-powered RISC-V tablet and laptop, and Ubuntu Server 2504 was released last month with support for a myriad of RISC-V single board computers. At Canonical, we believe that it's important to do our part to help RISC-V succeed and gain acceptance as an open standard. Ubuntu's availability on the OrangePi Rev2, I think, is a testament to the continued collaboration between us and the broader RISC-V community. Adding that it anticipates the images will have a big impact and help developers build prototypes and deploy cutting-edge applications on RISC-V technology. So the OrangePi, I guess it's RISC-V RV. RISC-V 2 is a comparatively low-cost single-board computer powered by the KYX1 octa-core single system-on-chip, supporting RVA22 and vector extensions. A 2 TOPS AI accelerator is included, and it comes in 2, 4, and 8 gigabyte low-power DDR4 configurations. So they had
is that ARM architecture or
it's RISC-V?
The RISC-V?
Yep.
Well,
yep.
But RISC-V makes I don't know.
It's not.
I thought
it's
not ARM. Okay.
Nope.
RISC-V. Okay, gotcha.
Yep. It's an open architecture. So it has a pair of M2 M key slots that offer onboard storage options alongside the micro SD card slot. OrangePi say that the board is available in configurations with eMMC storage ranging from 16 gigabytes to 128 gigabytes. It may be worth seeking out. So yeah, I guess it's pretty exciting. Do anybody here have any thoughts about single board computer support by the Ubuntu team?
I haven't heard that much about it enough to make a comment, truthfully.
Yeah.
I've got several applications that use Raspberry Pis to run dashboards on monitors. Yeah.
Yep.
That
What do
works
you use?
really well.
What software do you use to run it? It's like Antheus or Streamly or something else?
No, I just basically bring up a browser in full screen mode and display the HTML page from the server.
Oh.
Yeah.
Got it.
Oh,
That's cool.
oh,
It works really well too. So
That's
if you
pretty
ever
neat.
need that kind of thing.
Yeah, I do. I use a bunch of Raspberry Pis between the couple plants that I manage,
Gotcha.
manage, and they're running Antheus for like displaying information. People can log into it, but I'm having trouble with a couple of them in Texas. I don't know if it's because where it is in the latitude or something like that, but they seem to have issues that I need to work out, I guess. But anyway,
Well, you know,
so
the thing I've discovered about the Pis is they are very heat sensitive. So if they're in an area that is not, air conditioned or whatever, like on a plant floor or whatever, then the ones I use always put there's a
a fan.
you can actually buy a cooling fan for it. Yeah.
Yeah, these have cooling fans and little
Heat sinks.
heat sinks. There we go. Had a
Yeah.
brain fart. Had a senior moment. All right. Well, it is time for us to hit housekeeping. So next week we are doing an application appetizer, and so I think it was Scrub Ghost that suggested this. I think, but email clients. So any email clients you use. Now, if you're using web client, that's fine too. But I'd be interested. We're gonna have a discussion about how you manage your email. It can be on whatever you want. There's Outlook on Linux. So, in the matter of speaking,
That's scary.
I use it every day.
Oh,
Anyway,
okay.
it's prospect mail. It's actually what it is. It's an app image. But anyway,
Oh, okay.
so yeah, next week email clients. Talk about that. And then if you have any discussion suggestions or distribution suggestions, applications, poll ideas, whatever suggestions you may have, send them to suggestions@linuxsaloon.com, or you can tag myself or Eris or somebody in the Telegram or Discord. That will work. I'm also on Mastodon, but I don't check it very often. I do check it periodically, so you can tag me there as well, or on the Twix. Twix is fine as well. All right, so it is that time for last call, as we end the day out, night, whatever you want to call it.
whatever you want to call it.
So, does anybody, Shaston, do you have anything going on your in the World Wide Webs?
Well, I got some videos coming out. I got a little under the weather this week, so I haven't been. I'm a little behind, but I got my my NeoVim distro almost done.
Cool.
So that's gonna be pretty cool. And basically, I just made a distro for like professional writers and that sort of thing.
Right.
Cool.
And
Yeah, actually,
I don't know how I'm gonna.
that's neat.
Oh, go ahead.
Isn't
Oh.
it? That's neat.
Yeah.
I will definitely. I have your YouTube. I'll put that in the show notes so someone can check that out.
Yeah.
What about you,
So
Vince?
anyway, I forgot to say, Ben, I got your video on StormOS coming out here within the next day or two. I finally got the voice recorded.
Awesome. I'll take a look at it whenever it's done.
Yeah, you'll like it.
Oh, okay.
So
I'll keep an eye.
So Vince, I don't know, we got anything going on? It's been kind of quiet from your neck of the woods. I'm sure you're busy.
Oh, sorry. No, I've been crazy busy. But I'm just going to say just one last thing. What happened, Mr. Drifter? What happened? Sorry, it's a meme that I was reminded of early this week. If you know, you know.
I don't know that one, but I just saw the meme. And I think Adam's quoted this before, like the "Hello, fellow youth" or "fellow
Yeah.
children."
How do you do, fellow kids?
Yeah, fellow kids.
Oh,
That's what it
yeah.
is. Steve.
I'll DM you
Steve
later,
Buscemi?
Nate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you'll have to send that to Nate. The Mr. Drifter thing is awesome.
Make another class was Leroy Jenkins. That's another good one.
At least I have chicken.
Yeah.
So Adam, you got anything exciting going on in the world of tech for you?
Nah, just waiting for a mate.
Okay.
His name is James. He's a cool guy.
What about you, Ben?
Oh, I don't know.
It's last call, so it's not it's you can't I'm not
I
can't serve you
I
anything
know.
big.
Well, right now, stuff's always improving with Linux from my end, and well, excited to get a new computer this week, but beyond that, not a whole heck of a lot. That's about it. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Well, cool. Glad you made it.
Yep. And
Sw-
like I said, starting the show, this one's going to be going the way of the wayside. The drives are going to be taken out. The RAM's going to be taken out and putting in the new one. Then this poor little Asus. Bye-bye.
Gotcha.
I don't blame
So-
you. You should drop kick the Asus.
Oh, God. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just kind of, it's what it is, and we'll just take it from there. Yeah.
Man, you should do like they did in the Office Space, where they took the printer out, took the
Yeah.
back.
What does PC load letter even mean?
Yeah. Well, either way, yeah, the machine I'm getting is a Dell Precision 7530 laptop. So
Well, that'll be fun.
it'll be a nice one. Either way, that's what's going on with me this week. So, it'll be fun. Either way, back to you, Nate, I guess.
Swift. Glad you can make it. I hope your day went well. Nice to have you here.
It did. I was glad to be able to make it.
Well, you're at the very end of the last call, so
That's fine. It's good to have
it's
Swift here.
what it is. Oh, good.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yep, welcome.
Mike. Glad you can make it.
I didn't do it,
You did.
whatever it was.
All right.
Jinda.
I'll see you guys next week, Nate.
All right.
Yes, Nate.
We were really rowdy again today, so
I really blew up in the beginning there a little bit, and I
You did.
had to destroy Swift's Windows 10 computer. So
yeah. We're glad you can make it.
had a lot to do.
Always appreciate when you're here. And Dale, I just want to mention, so your video on the Zipper new parallel downloads experimental thing, that was great.
Yeah.
I wrote a little article and I included that in there. And I did want to say I didn't do any like speed tests. What I did do was, to make my life easier, I created a little script to just do it for me. Like I just type in zup and it does all that stuff automatically. So because I don't want to change any environmental variables, because I'm sure when all this stuff trickles down, I don't want any of my configuration alterations to like mess anything up. So anyway, I thought that was a
Yeah. Hey,
valuable.
well, I hear they got rid of Yast in the next release.
Yes, sir.
Oh God, there's.
I like
I
yes.
played.
So
And-
I
and,
wonder.
In the next release of Leap, yes, 16.
But they're gonna replace it with something else that's supposed to be better. So,
Cockpit, and so
Cock-
far it's not better.
well, it always has a slow start.
And the Yast installer also went away, and it's being replaced with Agama.
Right.
It's also
Which
not
I-
better.
which I'm okay with that because it's more modern looking. As long as like they don't get rid of the ability to install through terminal. Like if you have a serial connection, the neat thing about Yast was that you could install a headless system through the terminal, which is really cool because Yast would automatically detect that there's no display available and would actually negotiate for that. So as long as that can still operate like that, I'm cool with that.
I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be putting that in there.
Oh, so,
Yeah.
but anyway, as far as installers go, I don't know. At least it's not Anaconda because that's probably the
Exactly.
pits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little shade on Fedora there.
So just talking about the next release, the Leap. I did recently do a review on my YouTube channel of the Leap 16 beta. And
Sweet.
as another OpenSUSE fanboy in the Saloon, I was disappointed, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it's still
But
beta
it's a
version.
beta. They've got time to work on it. I understand that.
Yeah, my son installed it in a VM and it didn't boot, so that was funny. What can you do?
I'll have to check that
So-
out then.
So as far as like that's concerned, I don't really, as long as I can deploy the cloud image of Leap the same way I've been able to deploy them, like with 15.6, I don't really care because the way I deploy a Leap image is like an Ubuntu image. They're all pretty much the same. There's some slight tweaks here and there, and so as long as I can still do that, as long as I do that, because the way I like to play the game is my host system is Tumbleweed because I can roll the updates and I don't have to do about any reinstalls and having to worry about making sure things still work because it just kind of keeps going. And then I either run images or VMs on that Tumbleweed system. So that's kind of where I get my like DistroBox, but not DistroBox, but like images, Docker, like Docker images, containers. So I kind of feel like I get exactly what I want when I kind of mix it together in the flavors and the spices and all the essential herbs and so forth. So anyway,
They
that's
said
kinda
that
how I do
AutoYast installer was still supposed to more or less work with a little bit of tweaking here and there, but I've never done anything like that, so I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. Well, it's it'll all work out. That's kind of how I look at it. So I have a website called keepingwith.com. You can check out things that I do there. I wrote a couple articles this week. One on that, another one on LibreOffice.
Leave
Fixing
me
it
a
with
link
forcing.
in the. Yeah, you said okay. Yeah, leave me a link in the chat. I know on the okay. Cubicle Nate. Okay,
Yep.
I see. All right.
So
I'll
I'm also
definitely check that out.
cool. Well, thanks. I'm also on a podcast
Yeah.
with Linux Out Loud. We talked about YouTubers that go all Linux, so like PewDiePie and some others. And
that was wild, wasn't
that was
it?
interesting. It was. I don't get all crazy about that anymore. It was to me that was exciting like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, but now I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I only got like excited because probably 20 million people, understood why people use Linux that may not have understood before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
all computers are painful. It's just a matter of what's the flavor of pain that you actually enjoy.
Yeah.
So Steve's very own, he was in the chat. He doesn't join us so much here anymore since he's not really a Linux YouTuber anymore. Now he's an OBS YouTuber, so he's too cool for us. But he does stream
Oh, wow.
throughout the week, and also he's live Sunday mornings at 8:30 a.m. Central about that. So also, if you haven't checked out Linux User Space, that's another great podcast that I enjoy. So they talked about Qt and where the line is of AI involvement in programming. So also memory safe programming languages like Rust, other things too. So go and check that out. Also, Mike Chilson, he's got a BBS. I'll have a link in the show notes for that if you got that still up.
Yeah, go try it out and remind yourself how painful it used to be to get online.
But that was the fun times right there.
It was.
Linux Saloon is part of the
That's
Tech
why-
Digital Network. Go ahead.
I said that's why I like cut my teeth on things like Slackware, just to remember how things used to be. I don't do it very often though.
Yeah, I don't. I think I ran Slackware once. So Linux Saloon is part of the Text Digital Network, so check out more great shows at textdigital.com. I want to thank you all for your support, however you do it, being a part of the conversation, both the Zoom meeting and the YouTube stream, as well as for everyone for watching the show after the fact. I want to thank everyone involved in making Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back in your personal computer. What's that? Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time, see yous.